Morning, good afternoon and good evening. Welcome back to what looks like my bar, but it is not. It is my car dealership. It's just got a bar in it, which my insurers were not happy about. But welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be dispelling myths about car dealers, because since I started doing this job, people seem to think that I've got a lot of money. And it's probably because what you'll find is car dealers, as a rule, a little bit of a show off at times. And there's a bit of ego, and there's a bit of bragging. And there's also a bit of making it look right for the customer. However, people seem to come into car dealerships, look at all of the stock and think, it's 20 grand, 30, 40, 70, 90, 140, and they add it all up and go, well, this guy's worth at least 3 million quid. However, are car dealers rich? Is the question on the thumbnail that you have seen, and I'm going to answer that question today. Let me just get a drink. Right, let's talk about why they want to show off. Car dealers want to make sure that they look good in front of their customers. They also need the stock in place to sell, to make margins. However, they're not always buying them themselves, which I think is fairly common knowledge, but I'm going to talk you through how I do it. There are 3 different ways, as a rule, that people like to fund their stock. So, number one way that you fund it, of course, is you buy it yourself. You own your own stock. If you are a wealthy person, the chances are that, yes, it's your own stock. I know one guy that had won the lottery and invested some money in the car business. He started off with 2 million quid. He's now got £500,000. He's doing really well. There's lots of different ways that people kind of get their money together. However, as a rule, it's one of the other 2 reasons. So, this place, I've got some of my own funds in it. It's enough to buy and sell stock and kind of got me through the first 3 or 4 years. 3 out of 3. Oh! I've got a little bit of funds in here, and it helped me get to a point where I could then be approached by stocking lenders or funders. So basically the way that I operate this place is I've got a chunk of my own money in here, but I've also what's called a stocking platform, which means that essentially what I can do is buy a car for £40,000, then ring up the lender and go, bought a car here for 40 grand, retail looks 50 grand. Do you want it? And what they'll basically do is they'll underwrite that car, they'll put it on their platform, they technically own the car, and they give me my 40 grand back. And then what I do is I go, buy another one. And you can essentially recycle onto a stocking platform, so that's a really good way of doing it. I'm going to talk about stocking funding in a bit more detail. However, the other way that people do it is they do something called sale or return. And sale or return essentially means that what you're doing is you're taking a car in that isn't yours. It may belong to a friend or a customer or a client or a returning customer. And what you're essentially doing is going, yes, your car's worth 50 grand. If I was buying it, I'd be giving you 40 grand. You don't want to accept that, but you're not in a rush to sell it. So give me the car, I'll sell it for you, and I'll get you 45 back. And it's still going to give me 50. So you get a smaller margin, but you're not having to outlay that money. So that's kind of the 3 big reasons. Number 1, I've got my own money. Number 2, I use stocking. And number 3, I use other people's cars. But what I'm going to do is break it down in a little bit more detail. And the only way to do that really is to talk to you about how I do it, so you kind of understand where my funds come from. I'm not going to throw this bit. So, let me just get a little bit of water, and I'll talk you through it. I know what you're thinking, silky smooth. Before I go into this in more detail, I just wanted to mention a couple of people. So first of all, I did a video the other day, and I stood behind this bar, and it was talking about an issue that I had with a customer because of the way that I dealt with a deal. And it wasn't good, and it wasn't my finest moments. Now, I'm not one for doing a dirty delete, but I did remove the video, and the reason for it was because the comments started getting really, really fiery. And also I watched it back and I thought, throwing ice cubes around behind a bar doesn't make you look very professional, Rob, so maybe get rid of that video. Anyway, what I did want to say is that you get people in life that are lovely. And we've had a couple of people recently that have popped in just to say hello. And I wanted to say a massive thank you to Dave. You came in earlier on. You gave us some Porsche design glasses, which I really, really appreciate. You came in to say that you enjoyed the content, which I really, really appreciate. And I just wanted to say thank you to you. Thanks for making the time to come up here and give me some kind words. 2 days later, we had John come in with some model cars. Thank you, John. I really appreciate you coming in. It's kind of, I'm doing this because I enjoy it, genuinely, and obviously we get a little bit of revenue from the adverts as well, but I like it. So this is a great byproduct and I really appreciate it. Also, I'd like to say thank you to the customer whose car we repaired recently, who came in the other day and gave me this. This isn't me saying, I'll say thank you for bring me stuff, not at all, but I think credit where credit's due, there are some lovely people out there. We fixed his car, we should have had to fix it anyway, but he appreciated us doing it. So I know you might have watched some of my videos before, and they can be a little bit negative sometimes, but there are some proper positives in this job. So let's talk about money. My stocking funding, I can essentially borrow 350 grand's worth of stock, or I can lend £350,000 worth against the cars I've got in stock. The way that it works is that the stocking funder will only lend me that amount of money for a specific amount of time, and different lenders work in different ways. My lender will lend for 90 days or 120. I can add it on another 30 days at the end. So that's kind of the maximum amount of time that they'll lend on the car for. And basically the amount works out as 1% of the value per month. So breaking that down, I buy a car for 40 grand with a retail of 50 on it. I mean, this is a wonderful world to live in, isn't it, with a 10 grand margin, but let's just go with it. Buy a car for 40 grand, put it on stocking, they give me the 40 grand back, I pay 1% of that per month that I own it for, or that I owe it for. So that's £400 a month. So if I have it on stocking for 3 months, it's 1,200 quid. So that car's now cost me £41,200, still got a retail of 50. So this all works very well, doesn't it? Because I've now got a chance to earn 8,000 quid that I never had before because I didn't have the money. So that's why stocking is good news. And I was always dead against it. For ages, I ran this for 3 or 4 years and didn't have any stocking at all. Didn't want to get involved. No, thank you. And then a friend of mine started telling me about it and we talked, and I just thought, I'll give it a go. And the best month I've ever had in this place, I owed the lender about £300,000. And that's the best month we've ever had. And that's purely because I had more stocking. Now, the problem with stocking funding is 2 things. Number one, in order to get cars onto stocking, you have to have the money there in the first place because you have to have bought the car physically. So you can't just start a business and go, well, I'll just borrow £250,000 off them and buy cars through stocking. Now, there are ways of doing it through auctions, so some lenders will just let you buy from auction and put it straight on their platform. But as a rule, you've got to buy it first. Now, the other problem with stocking funding as well is that the lender will often want a director's guarantee on there. So essentially, the money that's owed to them, and I think I owe them, I want to say about 40 grand at the moment because we don't have a lot of stock. I've got plenty more in the bank than I owe on stocking, which I prefer it that way around anyway. So essentially, what I owe them, if I was to dissolve this business and go under and run away, they will go for my house because they've underwritten the debt against my property. So I am liable for it. So it certainly isn't a get out of jail free card if you want to just run away with their money, although it does happen, and they are quite stringent in what they do. One of the issues is that you've got to put up collateral against it essentially, or guarantee that you're going to pay it back, which is fair enough. And the other issue is you often need quite a chunk of money in the business yourself of your own working capital before they'll lend against the business. So it's not just a simple walk in the door, give me some money. However, saying that, I really do like it. It really does work. The other problem with stocking funding, and I fell into this trap last year, was at the back end of the year, I went a little bit mad with buying cars and chucking it on stocking. Now, there are a couple of different reasons for that. And then one of the reasons was I needed to get some of my own money out to help with the house project until I sold my flat. So it was all a little bit kind of messy on that side of things. So I loaded up my stocking funding. And when it got to 90 days, I had to extend it all by another 30. And then it got to 120 days and they want their money back. And they will just take it out of your account regardless. So you've got to be really, really careful to make sure that your cash flows right. However, again, I still think it's a good thing. You've just got to manage it properly. The other problem that I've had with stocking is sometimes when you get a customer in buying a car and it looks like there's finance attached to it. Now, when you actually break it down, it says that it is stock funding and not personal finance, but that can cause a little bit of friction with customers. So 3 ways of having nice cars in your showroom: own money, stocking, final one, sale or return. So sale or return is something that I didn't get involved in again before, but it's something that I've started to dabble in recently. And the reason for that is because it kind of works for everybody. You have got a customer that's ending up with more money for the car, free stock for you, and more stock that's available for customers when they come in. So it sort of makes sense in that respect. However, sale or return also has its own problems as well. And we had an issue with a bloke last year who brought a Porsche Boxster in on sale or return, wanted to sell it through us. We said, fine, not a problem. Give us 6 months as a worst case, always give a massive window just in case we have a problem. I said, but we're probably going to turn it in 2 or 3 months, so I wouldn't worry about it. These are the goalposts. I'm going to give you this much back. I'm going to sell it for this much. And there's no point lying because people can go online and see what you're going to sell it for. And when it sells, we'll give you your money or we'll pay your finance off or whatever it might be. Problem with this chap is after 4 weeks, he wanted it back. And we'd already started prepping the car. So we'd machine polished it, photographed it, got everything ready, started paying for Auto Trader adverts and also paid to have it collected. So it was a real messy situation. So you've got to be like really firm with how you do it. Other problem is how I ended up with that Ferrari last year. If you don't have your own funds and you are putting cars on stock that are other people's assets, if, for example, first of all, you've got a Lamborghini Huracan in for £100,000 and they owe 80 and you sell it, you've got to pay the 80 grand off, and usually before the customer buys it. I know that some companies can be a little bit staying close to into that, but certainly if they're going to finance it, you need to pay the existing finance off. If you haven't got any money, you can't do it. So people get ideas above the station with sale or return as well. The other issue with it is if you get a part exchange against the car that's on sale or return, then that can cause a problem. It's how I ended up with the Ferrari last year, because a guy had taken a McLaren in on sale or return. Ferrari 360 came in on part exchange, so although they'd sold his car, they still didn't have the money, and they then had to sell the Ferrari for him. And that's when I swooped in, did a trade deal. So, hopefully that explains it a little bit, that what you see is not what you get with car dealers sometimes. You look at a couple of million quid's worth of cars and you think someone's doing really well, and the chances are they are, because they're turning over a couple of million quid's worth of cars. So hopefully that kind of makes a little bit of sense. It's just a bit of a myth buster for you. There are loads of benefits as to all different ones. So if I could afford to run this place on purely my own money, then that would be fantastic, because I wouldn't owe any interest to anybody. I wouldn't have to have conversations with people about the cars on sale or return. When you get the phone call, how's it doing? Well, I've not rung you, so obviously it's, you know, still here. That would be a lovely way to do it. But then again, the same question is, if you had all of that money yourself, would you even be doing it in the first place? The benefit of sale or return is it's better for the customer. They end up with the car in here, insured, everything, they don't have to think about it, tax it, etc. The benefit on stocking is you're kind of getting free opportunities that you never had before. You just got to pay a little bit of interest for the benefit. So there you go. So all is not what it seems. However, all is well. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Most car dealers, as a rule, are show-offs.